Of course, it's an uphill battle. We know it's an uphill battle, but this is why we call leaders leaders. And leadership, especially ecclesiastical leadership, better cowboy up, because Christianity is an uphill battle.
For 2024 problems, we need 2024 solutions, not 1844 solutions.
People nowadays are desperate for community.
If we're going to have the quorum of the 12 attorneys.
And a lot of our members, they grew up with awesome programs, and the church was there for them. It was there for them. And now it's not there for them.
Glory, glory, glory.
It's horrible. It's a crisis of isolation. Their culture is beat young men into a corner.
The church has wonderful resources with which to combat this.
But they're not.
I know.
The biggest dereliction of duty of the 21st century is our absolute 100% just neglect of the young men of our church. The following is an episode of WardRadio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, and today I'm joined in the studio by Kwaku L, as well as via Zoom by the Associate Professor of all things apocryphal, none other than Jonah Barnes, large and in charge, here to entertain us. Wow, that was pretty good, my man. Anyway, we had a recent video about why men hate church with the author David Murrow, okay, and his very interesting and intriguing book, Why Men Hate Church, that has spurred a lot of conversation. And me and Kwaku were talking en route to the studio today, how I think it just kind of has to be said. I've been wanting to do a podcast on this for a long time. I've been wanting to do a radio program on this for a long time, but I got a thesis statement that I think is pretty unimpeachable at this point, that I feel we are failing young men. And I want you to share some of your thoughts that you had here, both Kwaku and Jonah, about this thesis and so on and so forth. And then I'll dive in and give my opinion. So Kwaku, you go first. Do you think it holds water, this idea that we are failing young men currently?
Well, I think American society at large is failing young men. I think we, obviously had to correct, what the feminists kind of helped us understand. You watch
first wave feminism gripes. Okay.
No. I would even say, you watch those 90s movies like Revenge of the Nerds, where the whole, there's a 15-minute scene where they're trying to sneak a camera into the women's locker room, and it's like the punchline
I don't remember that, but sure.
Yeah, it's like the punchline is like, we're filming these girls against their will naked, and the audience is like, this is hilarious. And you're like, oh, this would not fly. It wasn't even a commentary on how that's the wrong thing to do. You're watching it, and the audience is cheering, like, yeah, get that camera in there. And you're like, oh. So that kind of stuff, modern feminism had to come and say, this is a wrong way to have society. And so a lot of stuff that was a part of our culture we had to get rid of. But with that, we kind of threw out, the necessity of making sure that everyone feels welcome and okay. And I think in some ways, the feminist movement overcorrected. And then you have a lot of young men who are suffering from just horrific isolation and loneliness. 15 to freaking 30 at this point. It's not even like they used to be like, oh, your freshman year of college, for the first 2 months you'll be lonely and then you'll make friends. No, I mean, it's like a whole generation. And they're just a lot of loneliness, and they supplement it with video games and pornography and marijuana. And, you just think, what organization is really in the perfect situation to fix this and help these young men see that they should be making better choices, Not because, well, okay, yes, because you don't watch pornography because it degrades women, obviously. But they've heard that a million times, and clearly the message isn't getting through. But if we tell them, hey, you've got divine purpose, eternal identity as a son of God, you have incredible worth, so much that the Lord died for you, and in his death, you are now eternal. Understand that higher self, that I am presence. I think that our church could do that so good. I mean, we have built-in young single adult lords. We have the elders quorum presidency. Our church is one of the few places where you immediately have a group of friends with an elders quorum. And you go to, and we're spoiled in Utah, and actually so much we have the opposite effect sometimes. But you go to some kid in Tampa, Florida, who's there for his freshman year of college, who's kind of miserable. Imagine if they just had, all right, University of is there a University of Tampa? I don't know.
Maybe
University of Tampa. This is the University of Tampa mission. Elders, your job is to go befriend the lonely men, give them friends, help them find the restored gospel. They're going to be better off making moral choices. They're going to be better off with their confidence, probably with their looks, probably with their, health. And it's going to be all right. We could literally have missions for college aged, and your job is to hang around campus till they kick you out. You know what I mean? And literally create friend groups. Because I tell you, the amount of guys I meet who are just socially awkward, they just don't know how to talk to people, and let alone talk to women, and they're trapped because, and this is where I feel so bad. It's like some of these guys as well get called creepy and weird. It's no, they're just kind of socially awkward because they've never really had friends, because our culture is beat young men into a corner. And it's if I walk up to a girl at a party, I know what to say. But if that guy does it and doesn't say it the right way, he's creepy. It's no, it's not. It's unfair. And they just feel trapped. When they try to go out and do something, they get shamed. So they retreat back into their shell. And I really think our church, oh boy, we could fix that problem. We could fix it. We could save the young men crisis. And you save the young man crisis in America, it comes with the women. It fixes, no one's having kids. That problem's fixed. It fixes so many problems. We've just ignored young men because we want to deal with the problems of misogyny for young women, but we've corrected a lot. Can we stop the young guys from committing the S word? Can we do that now? Can we finally do that? I think it's time.
Okay. Jonah, what are your thoughts, my man? Is this resonating with you, or are you just furiously photoshopping? I see you.
I threw some things in the Discord. I threw some things in the Discord that we'll get to. I wore my scouting hat.
Oh, okay.
For this,
cool. I see it. Yeah.
Episode.
You know what else you wore, Jonah? You wore the truth, because I don't see that bookshelf behind you.
What are you talking about? This is totally fake.
Remember that fake bookshelf you lied about in episodes as the ward
librarian? This is completely fake. Look, it's totally fake. None of these are real. See this?
Yeah. You've been caught red-handed.
That's funny.
They're all fake. See that?
Yeah, we see it. We see it.
Yeah.
So tell us, man, where do you think? Where do I go wrong with my thesis, dude?
No. So, I think you're absolutely right. I love, by the way, thinking outside the box with missionary work. I love this. Why can't we have missions that are just like, we're going to create community groups at a college? Why can't that be a mission? Let's think creatively.
And we could also start targeting people instead of with all the old physical boomer pre-analog era methods like tracting geographically. Yes. We could start tracting digitally. Like, for example, okay, well, how do you find every person? Like, there might be a 30-mile radius where, let's just say we're going to CSU Long Beach. All right. Kids that go to CSU Long Beach are going to live all over Los Angeles County, but they will be congregating there regularly at the campus on CSU Long Beach. So why not literally, instead of just having the Long Beach missionaries occasionally pick up a CSU student, why don't you actually make the digital domain of everybody that participates in the social media groups, everybody that participates in the athletic groups, everybody that participates in the assorted auxiliary organizations with CSU Long Beach, shall we say, ends up being a potential candidate for that mission. And you might get a kid that lives 20 miles away, but great, you can meet him on campus when he shows up. So
I think that the model that we had in the 19th century of walking and knocking on doors was an awesome one. It was the only way to do it, and it was the greatest way to do it. But the most effective missionaries back in the 19th century, actually, Dan Jones, Wilford Woodruff, these guys were publishers. They used the latest and greatest technology of the day to print out pamphlets. That's why Dan Jones baptized so many people in Wales. It wasn't because he knocked on a bunch of doors. It wasn't because he just gave great sermons in the town square. It's because he was a publisher, and he published a bunch of pamphlets and used the most
honestly,
cutting edge technology.
I'll be honest with you. I have a million ideas as to how we could really just make missionary work so much more effective. And I've actually thought about this. I don't want to tangent this, but working in events, I've realized we are so underutilizing what we could be doing. Imagine you're in Kentucky, okay?
Yeah, no, I by the way, don't feel like this is a tangent. Like, I actually wanted to get into how we can make it better. Because I think, I'll tell you right now, I'll put to bed my thesis. I think we all agree here.
Yeah.
That in trying to overcorrect, because that's all we know how to do here, we have created trying to correct errors of the past, real or supposed, with feminism. We've completely thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and we're absolutely failing young men at this point. And in our desire to serve the women in the church and make sure that they're taken care of, it's plainly obvious right now that we're absolutely neglecting the young men, And so how do we correct this? Tell us your ideas, Kwaku.
Well, okay, so working in events, especially with young people, as my audience has taught me, how much young people are craving fun, excitement that's cheap. And let me tell you, the summer events are amazing for young people. You go to a place near a main city in a boring state like Louisville, Kentucky, or something like that.
Okay.
And the church says, "Oh, hey, we have a carnival and we have a couple bands, and this is we're putting on this thing. It's free to attend. Bring your friends, bring your family." The church could afford something like that, but you've just freaking blow that baby with missionaries. You know what I mean? Like, you create the attraction, people will come. They go, "Oh, what's going on downtown? There's like this really awesome thing. Let's go." And you make it clean, fun, popcorn and the the Ferris wheels and stuff like that. You get every high schooler and the college kids and the families. They would all go, and while they're there, they're like, "Oh, the Mormons are putting this on? What's going on? I thought they were weird." All right, sure. As opposed to going out to people, we should be doing things that bring them to us. And wholesome, real wholesome events could totally do that. Totally do that. I mean, you go to somewhere like Vidor, Texas, where they don't do anything but like hang out by like a railroad track, easy. There are so many people we could reach, and it wouldn't be that expensive. So just from the events perspective, that's what I think. Another thing is, I've talked about with you, Cardin. Mm-hmm. I wanted to create the Christian Coachella. I don't know why there's not a Christian Coachella, and I don't know why Mormons aren't leading it. Yeah. I mean, we could eat in like, we've got a beautiful state. You go near Sand Hollow in St. George and pay for a bunch of Christian artists, have a giant stage, make it cheap to enter. All the vendors are Christian or some form of Christian. You could have Catholics, you could have LDS, Baptists, J-Dubs. You'd have to kind of give like the Calvinists their own section, because they're going to think they're the only ones there. But besides that, you could have all these different people, and you could say, all right, people like summertime festivals, let's do a faith-based one. I don't know why we haven't taken advantage. Like, some of the tools the liberal media uses are effective. It's because they're effective tools. It's not, it's like, why aren't conservatives using some of the, and a lot of the Gen Z ones are, but it's like, man, there should be a Christian Coachella. There should be. I don't know why there's not.
Yeah, and I can't help but think, I've said many times on this show, like,
actually, I know why there's not.
Oh, why?
I know why. Because the majority of the wealth in this country is held in the hands of that one generation. And that one generation doesn't believe in proselytizing in new ways, regardless of the denomination. That's why, what is that stat? Like the majority of pastors in America are above the age of 60.
85% of the pastors in America are above the age of 62.
Good grief.
Oh,
really?
Jeez.
Yeah.
There is an
gosh.
impeding... Good grief.
There's a crisis of leadership in the North American church, and it's reflected in how we're
You give some of these young Gen Z TikTok evangelicals enough money to put on amazing things, you would see freaking a new wave of faith just boom. Yeah. Instead, we got the weirdo Christian nationalists. Like, it's like, oh, those the people doing it on Twitter? Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
So an example of this. So I just threw in the Discord a couple photographs. So in my stake, or in my previous, let's see, which stake? In my current stake, there's a family, and I won't name their names, but they're an older couple. They're an older couple. You're looking at which one?
The first one you put in the Discord. It's on the screen right now.
Okay, so this is not a church sponsored event. This is just my wife and I inviting some youth. Okay. We put our feelers out, said, hey, anybody want to come and have a dance in our barn? It was a Valentine's Day dance just this past Valentine's Day. It was insane how many kids showed up. 96 youth showed up at my house, Cardin. Wow. 96 youth. I'm not Kwaku L. I didn't put this on Instagram. I didn't shoot this off on social media. Literally we made like a flyer, like out of paper. You know, like a tree, if you slice it, it turns into paper. Yeah, like the cavemen used to do. And we gave out this paper thing, this thin wood thing with the ink on it by hand. And they invited 96 kids showed up at our house. They showed up at our house. We watched, we projected on the wall, The Princess Bride. Okay. And we watched Princess Bride. And then we had a dance in the barn. And
some things really never change.
It was insane. It was insane how many kids and they loved it. And when they first got there, Kwaku, they were super awkward. Like they didn't know how to they didn't know how to dance. They didn't know how to like the guys didn't know how to go up to the girls. I was like physically like, okay, here, take him by the hand like this. Here's how you hold her hands. And like they were really, really awkward. And then they danced for like an hour. They watched the movie. Then they came back and then they were a little bit more comfortable, and it was so much fun. But we were blown away by the reaction, how desperately these youth wanted to get together. They were desperate for any kind of socialization. I think that during the pandemic, when we cut off all the ties with people, I remember telling the bishop this. I said, okay, we beat the pandemic of, the C virus. Now starts the pandemic of loneliness. We've only just begun the pandemic.
People's brains got trained to be lonely and to be anxious to try to organize things. And, it's horrible. We've got it's a crisis of isolation. And, at conference, the apostles, every conference, they talk about evils of pornography. Yes. But let me tell you, that is gaining in popularity so much. And those CEOs of MindGeek and those porn companies are stacks of money. They are sitting on billions of dollars because people are lonely. And when you're isolated, you do bad things. Why is the first thing God says to mankind on earth to Adam is, it is not good for man to be alone? He creates this beautiful world and he sees Adam alone and he goes, oh no, terrible idea. We need someone else. Else. Companionship that's actually the banner on the website we made to find you a wife, Kwaku. It's actually want to date Kwaku? It says it is not good that man should be alone. That's actually what we put on the banner. Look, here's the thing. I want to be clear about something. Look. There are certain people that are single and they can't help it. I've got no problem getting a girl. I want to make clear, I'm not some weird incel. I'm not
with a mustache like that.
I'm not like, women are unfair. Believe me, I've got no problem getting a girl.
You are the Lando Calrissian of 2024, my friend.
I learned who that was yesterday. Lando Calrissian.
It's a compliment of compliments.
And you said it's like I've never heard of that name. I think it's a troll. I think he has a troll.
No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
I think what you're saying, Kwaku, is correct. The P word that a lot of young men are the fire that they're playing with watching the P word is a symptom of a larger problem. And the larger problem is loneliness and isolation. It's a real thing and it cripples our young men. The church has wonderful resources with which to combat this.
But they're not.
I know. I'm wearing
biggest
the hat.
dereliction of duty of the 21st century is our absolute 100% just neglect of the young men of our church. Actually, I would say the elders quorum, because we do give preference to the youth. I would actually say that we're failing our men, but the most heartbreaking failure is amongst our young men, because generally, you'll empathize more with the young man because we all remember what it was like to be a young man. And
rightfully,
so on and so forth.
rightfully.
But yes, rightfully, because they are younger and they need more help than those that are supposedly established, right?
Now,
but
in the Discord, I threw two little things in the Discord. One is a bunch of text you see that says religious affiliation among American adolescents. This is a Pew Research study from 2020. Okay. So this is 4 years ago. And what I want you to get from this, it says that while most U.S. teens identify with a religion, they're modestly less likely than their parents. Okay. Modestly. Oh, this is not a big deal. It says the new survey finds that 63% of U.S. teens aged 13 to 17 identify as Christian compared to 72% of the responding parents. That doesn't seem like that bad, right?
Yeah.
It says that the teens are more likely to identify as religious nuns, 32% to 24%. Now, hang on. This is one generation. You get a 10% drop in a single generation. And this is in the middle of COVID. COVID hasn't even finished yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they're trying to make this sound like it isn't a big decline. This decline is accelerating. It's going real fast. And this isn't talking about church attendance or participation. This is talking about affiliation, which is kind of a nebulous term. So this could be some kid who says, yeah, I guess I'm Christian and has never gone to church and never will.
Yeah.
So this is the best you're ever going to get, the nicest you're ever going to put lipstick on it. And these are dire statistics. The second thing I put in the Discord was a graph that we actually
used with David Armuro. It's on the screen
with
now.
David Armuro. Yeah. And that talks about the faith of our fathers. Now, the takeaway from this is that if you had to choose, and this is going to tick a lot of people off here. It's going to tick some people off. So I wore my BYU shirt. I'm your friend, okay? And we're here with Kwaku, so get mad at him, all right? You like getting mad, get mad at him, not me. That the takeaway from this is that if you had a choice between having an active father, an inactive mother, or having an active mother and an inactive father, you would always choose the active father. As a matter of fact, having an inactive mother statistically increases the chance that the children grow up to be active in their faith. Let me say that again.
Interesting.
Having an inactive mother, as opposed to having just an active father, having an inactive mother actually slightly increases the chances statistically that your child is going to stay in the faith. Now, a lot of people are going to get mad at that stat. Okay, that's just from the statistics. The guy says it's almost like, he says, as if loyalty to a father's commitment grows in proportion to a mother's laxity. Almost saying, why is this? It's because men are the transmitters of faith. Men pass faith down. Women do not, mothers don't pass it down the way that men pass it down. Fathers pass it down. Okay. Mothers are great. I actually have personal experience. I actually had a mother. So I know about mothers. And I'm married to a mother. Look, I love mothers. I'm not saying they're not important, but fathers are the ones who transmit faith. They're 11 times more effective at transferring faith to the second generation. So these young men and the men in elders quorum, that is the future of our church. It's them. It's them. And if we lose the young men, we're toast.
Well, we're toast. Well, that's the thing though, is like statistically we are, at least in the North American church, we're losing the young men. We're not breeding them as fast as we're inactivating them. And we're statistically, we just, the neglect, it gets to a point where it frustrates me. Now, you've talked about throwing some, large events, Kwaku and so on and so forth. You've talked about trying to increase sociability, Jonah, and showed some really good examples of families that do that. But I feel like just these well-intentioned Jonah Barneses that have a house large enough and a barn large enough and a property large enough where they could actually have a 92-person party. Those are so rare that this can't be a project where just the Kwaku-Els go out, because every party Kwaku-El does.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has to start.
Yes.
Like, I think we need to have university missions. I legitimately think we need to have that. I legitimately think the church needs to be putting on community, town-centered events outside of Utah that attracts families and especially young people to help them meet the missionaries. I think we're in the digital age. It's 2024. For 2024 problems, we need 2024 solutions, not 1844 solutions.
Well, and the thing is, actually, I would say 1964 solutions, because frankly, we did this better in the past. We used to have regional cultural gatherings. Here in Southern California, we used to fill the Rose Bowl once every other year with all the members from the region.
Was it Washington or Oregon, that festival the church would put on, and they had that giant golden plates? It was like a 30-foot tall golden plate statue. The pageants. The Manti Miracle,
the road shows, the pageants.
So people I don't want people to be like, "Oh, Kwaku just thinks those parties can cure everything." Like, no, I got the ideas for these events from the church that used to do these events. Like, we could be doing these things.
And also, why not? This is a big thing I've always said is, people nowadays are desperate for community. In the 19th century, they were desperate to survive. There was people that joined the church just because, hey, these guys seem to be better outdoorsmen. This Brigham Young guy knows what he's doing, and they're actually building a functional city. I want to see what these guys are like. Oh my gosh, wow. A light shall not be hid underneath a bushel. And this is the city on the mountain that cannot be hid. Like, holy smoke, I want to join these people. I feel something when I'm around this community. Like, and they would start feeling the spirit. And then Zion, as Jacob Hansen says, would be emergent. I think, because I'm all about solutions on the show, we need to just push aside, like, some leader in our church. I don't care if it's Russell M. Nelson or if it's one of the 12 apostles, but somebody needs to walk in to middle management and whoever these insurance adjusters are, whoever these lawyers are, and just push them aside and say, okay, our church buildings are community centers now. Like, Kwaku, you and I have been driving around for 2 or 3 days trying to, coordinate a location for one of your private events that, it's a private party and it's a money-making venture, but it's just the secular counterpart to what we would be doing for the Christian festival you're doing. And all these places we're looking at to be able to hold a 1,500 to 3,000 person big fat party could easily be done in one of these stake centers legally. And we need to also not just think about the LDS young men that we're failing, but the young men in general, because when you're a bishop over a ward, you're a bishop over all the young men in your ward boundaries, not just the LDS ones. Like God will be asking you questions about your secular counterparts as well. And I'm sorry, the idea that our chapels are empty all day long, 5 days a week, except for 2 hours on Tuesdays, 2 hours on Thursdays, and sometimes church basketball on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Well, okay, so
why can't we have video games in the cultural hall? Why isn't the cultural hall cultural? Why aren't there ping pong tables? Why isn't there
here? So one, we would. Oh man. We already talked about this before. How my friend Jace pitched something called the Ward Webmaster. Back when the internet was new, he went to the church, the official church. He's a tech guy. He built something called index suppression. He's a huge tech guy. He's done a lot of stuff we use right now. Don't even realize. My friend did that. He said, if every single ward had their own website, we would dominate Christianity. Within 10 years, we will exceed everyone's.
Can I guess why?
Because if every ward had their own individual website, when you Google SEO, we were going to dominate every area.
Wow.
Well, also think about it. If every time Russell M. Nelson just had a real banger of a talk in general conference, and there was a good solid clip of him that came out from church newsroom, and everybody said, oh man, that's a winner. We're going to repost it on our website. If all of a sudden 50,000 stake websites...
He'd be the American Pope.
Yeah, he would literally be the American Pope. And think how many beautiful talks have been given by Dieter Uchtdorf. The unmentionable. No, I'm just kidding. Think how many.
Hey.
Oh no, I'm just totally kidding. I'm just kidding. Think how many Democrats would convert because their big fat donor Dieter Uchtdorf gave a real banger airplane analogy, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey.
Well, another one is.
But no, in all seriousness, I just watched one of the most touching videos that I forgot Gordon B. Hinckley had said when he came to the students at BYU, and he just literally tried to express just his sheer love for them. And he got teary-eyed and he says, "You guys have no idea how much we love you." And I just thought, oh my gosh, I forgot how full of love this man was. And it moved me. It moved me. Even as I think about it, it moved me. And I'm like, I had to get that because I'm watching some obscure Instagram profile done by some overzealous Chileno in South America who's like posting his favorite conference clips as part of his I'm learning English class that the missionaries are giving him.
We would have absolutely dominated. The other two things we should be doing. Nearly every chapel has a gym and a theatrical stage built in. Why are we not the go-to place? How many people want to do community theater? Why is not every stake hosting some kind of
Hamlet.
musical?
Shakespeare's Hamlet tomorrow. If we literally put out flyers in our ward boundaries and said, okay, the Beverly Hills 2nd Ward is, we have a choir. In fact, we have two of them. One performs on the even Sundays, one performs on the odd Sundays. And guess what? You don't have to be a member of our church to come and sing. Do you know how many mothers, stay-at-home mothers that used to be singers in college, or maybe they were singers in the 80s or 90s, backup singers for freaking Madonna or something, but they got busy with their kids and also with this, Instagram-based startup fashion line that they started or whatever, would love to be able to come to a practice on Thursday night for what was going to be sung at the Mormon church. Nobody cares. If I was living somewhere and the Catholic church said, look, we want to up our musical game, and so we're just having an open call for anybody that wants to sing in our choir, I would love to participate and go. Think how much amazing work would be done if we opened up our choirs. Think how much amazing work would be done if we opened up our theaters.
A state could be doing The Wizard of Oz, and all the kids who I want to go audition for that. And then sports, rival sports leagues. You didn't make it on the soccer team at your high school. Good thing there's the stake sports league, and you could legitimately have it's Corner Canyon playing Lone Peak. Well, South Stake baseball is also playing North Stake baseball, and it's a mixture of members. You can have anyone can try out. You could have the amount of people who don't make teams that want to play on teams and don't make it. What if literally in their same area they have another opportunity?
By the way, it's not just the B team that couldn't make the varsity high school team. When we did this, my dad was stake athletic coordinator, all right? And in the hometown I grew up in, all right, the church basketball league was 6 weeks after the state rules said high school athletes could play. My church basketball team, this was the formula. Friday nights was football, Friday night lights, but Thursday night, every youth in the valley where I was knew you had to go to your local Mormon church and watch Mormon ball. I had Kyle Bowler, professional quarterback on the Ravens, on my basketball team. I had Scott Hunt. I had multiple guys that ended up being professional NFL athletes. And the hilarious part that was so good and heartwarming was, look, even though we literally have a future NFL player who's dunking, even though we got a 6'5" future, I don't know if he played in college or where did he play. I lost track of Scott in later years, but he was definitely professional caliber, all right? And we had multiple kids from my high school go on to play professionally. They knew that our stake had a rule of everybody gets to play at least 2 quarters. You know what I'm saying? And nobody gets left behind if you want to play in our league. And that was kind of the fun part, is having to figure out what quarters you put the starting quarterback of our football team would literally have to sit down because he knew I already played my 3 quarters. And there was actually a kind of beauty to that. And you would see these guys who are literally on their way to the NFL, like sitting down and talking with some kid that they would never have spoken to that went to their high school. You know what I'm saying? Being like, okay, dude, wait, okay, so I know you don't feel like you're really confident shooting and stuff like that, but you can play defense pretty well, Steve. So like when I got to sit down, we're going to put you in, and then this other guy, like he can't run as fast, but if you can pass him the ball and you two can like gang up on their one guy, then we're going to stick in Harry and he'll pick up my slack while I'm sitting, Like these kids that would never have had the chance to talk to a pro athlete in their life aren't just talking with him. They're coordinating with him. They're planning with him,
We have so many resources, and the only way to reach people isn't just send people a knock on your door. We could be doing so much more. And then, okay, let's give an example. Single mothers with young children just freaking fighting they can't afford the bills. Their kids want to do extracurriculars. It's so hard on them. They got to drop off. Do you know how many moms would join the church with their kids if they're like, oh gosh, what am I doing for dinner tonight? Oh, the Mormons are putting on the community theater. My kids are going to go to practice every day this week and there's dinner served. Like we could be doing things like that. After 2 years, those single moms, boom, they're in the church. Their kids are in the church.
And not by false pretenses. They will be served. They will be friendship. They will be fellowship. They will experience the Spirit. It's not like we're tricking these people. We're so confident that community works at conveying the Spirit that we know it will work, and we're failing worse the young men. But how we're failing the young men is kind of demonstrative of how we're failing everybody else as well. So here's my question. Jonah, you're the most, you speak the language of the boomers. You know what I'm saying? Like you do like the little jokes and you say that, oh, well, thank you, brother or so-and-so for calling and talking. You sound like, like you're 20 years older than you really are on the phone with, like your cool jokes and puns and, your understanding of 60s music. Like what is keeping us back? Like, I feel like I have tried to institute and suggest a lot of these programs to a lot of my priesthood leaders, and it's been hit or miss. The widespread retreat from a lot of these programs that we did successfully in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and I'd say even the early 90s has been kind of experienced by everybody my age that I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And this overwhelming desire to get that back, to make the Mormon church great again, for lack of a better term, right, is so widespread. Like, what is stopping us? How can we make this happen? You know how to move the ruling class of our church's hearts, bro. Like, how can we do this? It's what I try and create with the Discord. It's what I try and create in the comment section of these videos, that community. But I'm just one guy with a little Discord and a small YouTube channel. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, man, if Russell M. Nelson went up and said, so it shall be done, with a 5-minute conference talk, boom, he has just moved more resources in 3 minutes than I have in 3 lifetimes.
Yep.
Like, how?
Yep.
And it's not just him. The apostles could do that. Stake presence. Like, how do we get to these people, bro?
So a couple things. Number one, and you identified this. The biggest obstacle, the e-brake is, no matter how much you put on the accelerator, the e-brake is lawyers. That's like the number one. Then there's what I call the Mexican standoff of responsibility, where bishops, stake presidents, regional leaders, and everybody is standing and they're all pointing guns at each other, and everyone is in the standoff simultaneously. And they're all wondering, wait, who does do you plan am I in charge of the activities of that under, well, I wouldn't propose that. I mean, is it something if you approved it, then maybe or do I approve that? And they're all doing this. Whose job is it? They're all waiting. Now, once scouting was cut off, the regional presidents and stake presidents and bishops all looked at each other and said, okay, who comes up with a new program? And it's silence. They're all going, do I do that? Do you do that? Who does that? And no one knows. Everyone's waiting for someone to pick up the ball.
It has to be the people that shut off the Boy Scouts. And it was the church office building that shut off the Boy Scouts, not the stake presidents, not the bishops, not the area authorities. It was the COB.
Well, okay. So one answer could be, Brigham Young used to give out clandestine callings. Did you know this? So back in the
So
back in the days
again,
when
we're back
selling-
to building the kingdom subversively. You literally have
Dude,
to be a rebel.
100%.
Like,
100%.
but that's such a
subversively, man.
crappy system. If the only way we can move forward is we have to do it subversively, like
Sorry, look, I'm sorry. I'm not spending my own money to build the kingdom subversively through a sports league or something when we got $160 billion. Sorry.
I am.
Sorry, no.
I covenanted to consecrate everything I ever will have to building up the kingdom.
Yeah,
And so-
I know. I'm just like, we have 2 temples in Provo now, and it's like we gotta look. We're gonna have a temple in McGillicuddy, North Iowa, whatever. I don't know, like a place
well,
5
all
people
right.
live.
Hear me out.
I'm
hear me
with
out.
both of you. Like Kwaku, to a certain extent, I think, look, we've covenanted to do everything we can. We have to support this leadership, even when it's bad. That's part of sustaining your leaders. But Jonah, like, I got to tell you, I'm totally with Kwaku. It's like, you know what? Why are there 2 churches within a church right now? Why is it that there's the church of everybody that was pre-internet? Why is the church of everyone that was an adult before 1996 when the internet came out, that's paying its tithing, building its temples, doing its genealogy, going to church, like just fat and happy and content, and the stats are amazing. And then the post-internet church is just absolutely flailing. Like either we just like have a schism and literally just say we're the Church of Jesus Christ of Boomer Day Saints, and then there's the Church of Jesus Christ and millennials et al. You know what I'm saying? Like either we just do that and admit we're 2 separate churches, and that the millennials have to fend for themselves like poor Bickertonites or something. You know, like either we do that, or else we start saying, yeah, we're actually in this all together, and we need to
all right.
start using.
If you ladies are done with your wine and you can go get yourself a bowl of cream with some raspberries in it, okay, we can get to some actual solutions here.
Bowl of
all right,
cream
because,
with raspberries.
yeah, okay.
Isn't
Would
it
you like a bowl of
cranberries,
cream?
not raspberries?
What
Some
Little House on
you
the
guys-
Prairie snack are you feeding your kids?
That's Game of Thrones, Kwaku, not Little House on the Prairie. all right?
Oh.
That's
I don't
Game
watch
of
that show.
He out Gen Z'd you, bro.
Game of Thrones, isn't that like dragon porn?
So
Kind of.
So look,
What were you projecting in that barn with those kids, Jonah? What
So
show are you
one
making them
state-
watch?
One stake president up kind of where I'm around, and it's not my current stake, it's a different stake, but there was a couple and they're retired and they're very rich. They're boomers. And the stake president said, hey, look, I need somebody to throw some awesome parties. We're not going to do it. Can you do it? Now, whether or not you agree with that, whether or not you think that's a chicken thing to do or a
that's
cowardly
good.
thing to do. Okay. The couple, they said yes. And they just have this great property and they have people over and they throw these parties for these kids. And it's awesome. They have church sponsored events there and then they do their own thing. The church, I believe and I sympathize with the church that there's an army of blood sucking lawyers outside their door all day long. And people like the AP and John DeLynn and all these guys rant and rant about how much money the church has. And if you push in the right spot, you can get change out from the money monster. And they're just waiting. They're waiting to pounce on the church. I think that's a very real thing. We didn't get out of Boy Scouts because we didn't like the Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
we got out of Boy
get it.
Scouts because
I understand, but I'm just gonna say, I'm every time I see the words Curtin McConkie on anything, bad news follows. Every single time it's Curtin McConkie. Oh, what's going on? Curtin McConkie sues small Jewish woman in a wheelchair for like, oh geez, what did we do? It's like every time. And then it's like you look at the freaking who's the huge guy on Utah Twitter who worked for Curtin McConkie, and he like hates the church anyway, and he's like, yeah, the church is evil. You're like, freaking the church is law firm people who are anti. Like, we've got some of those people that are, well, I understand that we have 1,000 orphans in this city that want to get together to play softball, but if one kid hurts his kneecap, we could be sued. So tell him to take a hike. Like, I feel like stuff like that happens because of these lawyers.
If I can, Jonah, what I think Kwaku's trying to say, and if I could try and like soften his statement, I would say, of course it's an uphill battle. We know it's an uphill battle, but this is why we call leaders leaders. And leadership, especially ecclesiastical leadership, better cowboy up, because Christianity is an uphill battle. And right now, I don't feel like that's the leadership we have. I feel we have leadership that's like, oh, well, it's an uphill battle, so we can't fight it.
If we're going to have the quorum of the 12 attorneys who have their own office in the church off. Fine, but you know what? Let me tell you. I just have a feeling. It's hard to sue someone in heaven because all the good attorneys are in hell. That's all I want to say.
No, and you're right. No, guys, you're right. Now, a couple of things. So, in the 1960s and 70s, when they had these wonderful programs, we didn't have $200 billion in the bank. We didn't need the resources to do this. We did this on the plains. We were having dances and parties surrounding a bunch of wagons, surrounded by wolves, surrounded by the local Indian tribe waiting to kill us all, and we were still dancing around the fire and having a great time. So it's not like, oh, we have all this money that should help us to celebrate these things. Okay, so we don't need resources to do these things. You're right. We need leaders. This Mexican standoff of responsibility that's going on. We need bishops, stake presidents, or regional authorities to say, I'm not even gonna ask for permission. I'm not gonna make the call. I'm not calling Curtin McConkie. I'm just gonna do it. I'm going to do a baseball league. I'm going to do a choir. I'm going to do whatever, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to stop when they tell me to stop. But I'm just going to do it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to let the little light blink. When
Why
I know
did you
they're
go
calling to tell me
Brooklyn
to
for
stop,
that?
I'm going to let the light
Jonah,
blink.
did you hear Jonah's like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. No one's going to stop me. I'm going to do it. You just went kind of like a Brooklyn
That was
cop.
very 1970s
there's
mafia
There's
film.
members in Brooklyn, too. There's some stake president in Brooklyn listening to this podcast who's like, yeah, this guy knows me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
This guy understands what I want to do.
You know?
I think
Imagine that guy. You've been called to start a baseball league, and you're gonna say yes. 'Cause we would hate for something bad to happen to you.
You know, yeah. And then the guy's sitting there and just like, yeah, we're going to play up in Astoria, right? Yeah, there's a good field right there. There's a Sbarro right there.
Imagine if all the missionaries talk like that. So you're gonna join the church? Oh, I don't think so. It's okay.
So
We'll
there
get
was
you in
this
the next
Angel
life.
Maroney.
It's a good thing we do baptisms for the dead. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's funny, Kwaku. All right, so I mean, in the last 5 minutes here, keep telling us, how we right this ship and what we as listeners can do.
I think stake presidents or bishops, or people, listen to this. Go to your bishop and say, Bishop, I want to say no to every calling from now on, but I will say yes to a clandestine calling, which is going to be coaching this local soccer team or football team or holding parties or dances or running a choir.
Yeah, but if all of us just choose our pet project and say no to every calling until that bishop wises up to give us the calling we want, well, then you just get chaos where all the members just
we need a little bit of chaos. We need just a little. We don't need a lot. We need a little bit more chaos.
Hey, one of
That's
the
what made
reasons
the
why
church
the priesthood ban was lifted is because when the Book of Mormon got to Africa, there were African members who just started church. There was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they were just like, yeah, we're doing it. We have the Mormon church here. And Spencer W. Kimball's like, what? They can't just do it. And they just did it. And then it's like, I guess it's going to happen. Sometimes you just got to just do it.
Okay. Well, I guess, again, we're in the conundrum of believing in being subject to principalities, rulers, kingdoms, upholding and sustaining the law.
Doctrine.
Okay. Fine.
I don't like those the articles of faith. I think are doctrine-y. I don't think they're.
Okay, well, either way, it represents the ethos of belief in our system. And if we're really going to say, okay, we believe in improving that system, just as Jacob Hansen says, when you look at things, they're either a people person or a process problem. Right now, it seems like this is a process problem, and that process needs to be addressed. So I don't know how, as a member of our church, to institute that change, negative change. Yeah, we know that the church responds to negative publicity. I mean, John DeLynn brags about all of the changes he thinks he's brought into the church in one of those recent podcasts that he did.
Well, he's right. When they leaked that PowerPoint presentation.
I was going to say, yeah. and to a certain extent, I don't think he could take all of the credit that he was claiming, but I don't think he could take none of it either. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, we know how they operate for change when it's negative, but positive change, I'm really struggling to see how the mechanism for getting positive change in our church, not the negative change the woke scolds and the secularists demand, because at the end of the day, they don't want our church to thrive. They actually want it to dive. Okay. And so but what is the mechanism for faithful members to say, hey, we need this? Why was my church built with a theater in the cultural hall? If in the 25 years I have been a member of this ward, I've never seen it used for anything other than maybe a dorky talent show on, Christmas Eve or something.
And one last story that I'll tell.
Okay, hit it.
When back a decade ago, when there was an earthquake in the Pacific and a giant tidal wave destroyed the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan, someone had to go in and clean up some of the waste that was in there. They had to go in and do some cleanup. They went to the local community and they said, what are we going to do? We need people to go in there, but anyone who goes in there will shave off. It'll kill you in 20 years. If you go in there, then you got 20 years of life left. And all the seniors in the town, all the elderly people in these little tiny Japanese villages, they all came forward and they said, I'm dead in 20 years anyways. I'll go clean this up so that my grandchildren can play on the beach someday. And they walked in to radioactive territories and places, and they cleaned this thing up. They said, I want my grandchildren to have the childhood that I had. And so they walked into death that way. I think it's a very touching story. They had the beach. They had a wonderful beach in Japan to play on. They had this wonderful childhood to enjoy. Okay. And a lot of our members, they grew up with awesome programs, and the church was there for them. It was there for them. And now it's not there for them.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but can you imagine American elderly people
Okay.
doing that? Because right now it's like, hey, you know what? When I was growing up, we were riding our bikes around the woods, and mom and dad could afford a whole family with this nice, beautiful house on one paycheck. So is that what you're going to give us? No. I'm selling this baby for $3 million, and I'm blowing all my cash on an island for my last 5 years, baby. That's what the boomers are doing.
Yeah,
we're shutting
in
down
fact,
all
we're
your
changing the
schools.
laws so that you're shutting down the schools. My daughter's school got shut down. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, no. We're keeping our money. In fact, we want to. We're not going to allow you to raise the retirement age because I've been banking on being able to get my Social Security on top of my pension, on top of my Roth IRA, on top of all of my financial dividends that you have no hope of ever receiving, Mr. Millennial or Gen Z. Or no, we're not giving that to you.
You know how A Modest Proposal was about eating babies? Remember that book?
No.
Remember the Modest Proposal?
Modest Proposal, yeah. I remember that.
Okay. I'm just saying, if it was written to this day, it would be, look, the elderly are quite tender. And in the same way, aged Wagyu beef is just delicious. I wonder if aged Swedish man tastes just as good.
Jeez, savage. He's going after your ancestors, Jonah. He's going after your ancestors.
Well, he's got a point.
Are you a Swede, Jonah?
So what?
Are you a Swede?
I'm part Swedish, yes, very much. My mother's.
I thought you were like
Ericsson.
Lithuanian or something.
No, I'm Swedish.
I think you were like
English.
Lithuanian or like Latvian. Remember, like Lithuania, Latvia, those countries you kind of forget about.
Я говорю по-русски из-за миссии, but I'm not Russian. People just today, actually, some girl at the drive-through, she was like, "Oh, are you Russian?" I'm like, do I look Russian?
Hey, what are you saying, dog?
Russian.
What are you saying?
No,
dog?
but what we need. No, what we need is some bishop, some stake president out there to say, I'm going to do what I think needs to be done, and let the chips fall and do what you think needs to be done.
Yeah. I fully support that. In fact, I would actually like to know, are there any renegade bishops out there that are willing to just do something like this and say, hey, look, we need this, and, to hell with the Sanhedrin. I'm sorry. To hell with the church office building. No, I'm just kidding. But to hell with the naysayers, all right, that are more worried about what those that hate us might think. Because, with noble virtue, we do varnish over the devil himself sometimes. Okay. And
did this start with how we're failing young men, and now we're like, yeah, some of these old church leaders need to go. Like, we've completely switched subjects.
Well, it's because we really feel the root of what's stopping us from doing a lot of these programs is you would do this tomorrow. True or not true, Kwaku, as a faithful member of the Church of Jesus Christ in Latter-day Saints, if you knew that you could increase the spirituality of not just our young men, but all of the youth in your hometown in Cypress, Texas. If you knew your stake president would allow you access to whatever stake building needed to get done in that region, would once a month you sacrifice your time, your talents, and your money to throw one of the coolest stake dances out there that maybe even had speed dating, I don't know, maybe even had how to dance without just looking like a weirdo wiggling to Jason Derulo.
Oh, yeah.
You would throw a killer party using your talents. But what's stopping that from happening? What's stopping it from happening?
Well, just it's church leadership, and I bet a lot of these stake presidents and bishops actually be down, but they're just like, well, we got to get approval from Salt Lake, and and then 6 months go by. It's like, yeah, well, now I'm busy, I can't do it. I see.
And so it's like, to me, the problem is leadership, and they've ivory towered themselves to such a degree that I'm like, I just unfortunately feel like the North American church needs to just fail so badly under the weight of its own greed, wealth, and neoliberalism, that out of the ashes, what is left, we will be able to rebuild from a position of poverty, like you say, Jonah. How back in the 60s, we didn't have the money, but we did the road shows. We didn't have the money, but we did the dances. I almost feel like we just need to those that are holding us back and keeping people like us who are even willing to volunteer to get these balls rolling. Okay. Just, we need to wait until frankly, they just die and can't stop us anymore from doing good things. Cause that's the role they're playing right now.
There's an old adage, okay, that in there's the comfort zone and the growth zone. Yeah. The growth zone is uncomfortable, and the comfort zone, there's no growth. If you're a stake leader or a bishop or a leader in the church, you should always be uncomfortable. It should be a hard, uncomfortable job. Remember back when John Taylor was hiding in the haystack. This is a true story. Prophet of the church, hiding in a haystack in a barn when the federal marshals came in and stabbed it with a pitchfork to try to find him, and miraculously somehow he didn't get killed. Okay. That happened. Okay. We've been in really bad places. Okay. We've been in unpopular, really dangerous places, and our church grew gangbusters when we did it. Do the uncomfortable thing. Do the unpopular thing. Do something that's going to make a lawyer really mad. We're going to make the AP really mad, and do what needs to be done to help our young men, because without our young men, you will have no church to defend in court.
Okay,
without our young men, there's no church.
Just as a caveat to what Jonah Barnes says, I say don't do anything against the law. I say do everything the lawyers say. I say do not subvert anything that he is alone responsible. No, they are wise. Don't. These people are wise. Don't be like John Taylor. I say do not be like Jesus, John Taylor, Joseph Smith, or Brigham Young.
The Book of Mormon says, yea, because they are learned, they are wise. That's what it says, and we should.
They think that because they are learned, they are wise. See, I was the idiot that didn't get your joke.
So I'm just saying, I love Curtin McConkie. I love the attorneys of the church. They're amazing. They've never steamrolled any good idea ever.
And I love them only second to the insurance adjusters.
Yes.
Who see zero value in any of the,
I love the people that designed our chapels. I think the architecture is beautiful. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with grandma couches and,
cheap hotel pillows.
There's nothing wrong with those Kmart discount pillows. You don't
like fluorescent tube lights, bro?
No, there is a chapel in Houston. I hope they repainted it, and the walls are like purple. And I was like, what Willy Wonka freak?
Lavender.
Just horrible, right off Jones Road, and you just want to slap somebody in the face. Like, are you making sure no one wants to get baptized ever?
Okay, well, here's the call, guys. if you're one of those renegade bishops willing to do this and just, grab the bull by the horns, we want to hear from you. Okay. And if you work in the church office building and you know what insurance adjuster guy we can talk to make it so like fun is allowed, or something like that, so we can go back to making the LDS church great again, right? We want to talk to you because I really feel that we all understand the nature of this complaint and the nature of the solution, but I do feel like there are real impediments from keeping this happening, and those that are suffering are the most vulnerable amongst us. It is the youth that is suffering, and especially the young men. Okay. So we've talked about why men hate church, but we've also talked about how we're failing young men. And we really think that this is a problem that has a solution if we can just overcome some of these cultural barriers and swallow our pride. So last thoughts, Jonah Barnes, and then we'll go.
David Moreau is not a member of our faith, but in our interview with him, he's right out of the gate said the greatest thing you do for young men is get them on missions. That was he said that without hesitation.
Which they would disallow now. Like the same insurance adjusters that say no to Kwaku's parties right now.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
If the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 2024 didn't already have a pre-existing proselyting program, these insurance adjusters would say, wait, what? You want to send 18-year-olds to a foreign country?
Good point.
Like what? Do you know how much visas would have to? Do you know how much plane tickets are? Like what? You're crazy.
I think you're going to send 2 white girls to Brazil? You can't do that. Yeah, we do it. Like all the stuff we do is. Wait. You're telling me you have a building that police can't enter with children in jumpsuits that a random man is going to hold underwater and a brass bucket of bulls? You're telling me that? You don't think there's a liability? What if one of them drowns? What if he trips and falls? What if he has an aneurysm in the water? Like, you could make the whole baptismal ceremony an insurance liability.
Dude, AP is taking notes of what you're saying right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. What's funny is it took me a second.
Church.
It took me a second to realize what you were referring to. I was like, jumpsuits? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, little white jumpsuits with little key you stick on. And
we all know they wear nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. And we all know it's blood, not water.
Yeah,
we all
know talking about.
No, I just get it. So anyway, all right. Let us know what you guys think. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments section below. It's been real and it's been fun. And as always, it's been real fun. For this and more, please check us out at WardRadio.com.